the toxic air over the national capital. Despite all efforts, the fact remains the air we breathe is not fit for human consumption, and any gains which may have been made in the fight against air pollution appear to be negligible.
Pollution levels peaking around midnight, with the most hazardous PM 2.5 pollutant hitting 1600 and above, 60 times the safe limit in areas like Ashok Vihar, Okhla and the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium. This despite the ban on conventional firecrackers and only green crackers being allowed. Clearly the ban went up in smoke in several areas. But the day after Diwali, pollution has been over 500 points on an average, with Delhi University touching 740 points. The Met Department's pollution wing, SULPHUR, though says pollution levels this Diwali have been the lowest in the last 3 years.
Pollution के जो आंकड़े आए हैं, वो भी पिछले 5 सालों में सबसे कम pollution दिवाली पे इस बार देखा गया है.
It looks a little bit better than the last time, but it can still be better. We should have a complete blanket ban on the sale of crackers, and we should have a complete green Diwali.
Every day I walk to the office and I walk back. But I'm not convinced on the better air quality. No, actually it's worse than the days before as an effect of Diwali crackers.
The Central Pollution Control Board also agrees.
Seems situation is better this time. We will be seeking report from State Pollution Control Board. So what type of action they have taken in terms of compliance with the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court order.
But it's not just Delhi. Other towns like Muzaffarnagar, Ghaziabad, Muradabad along with Noida and Kurukshetra were even worse. The ban on conventional firecrackers absolutely failed. What really helped was the weather, and that is why pollution levels have been a tad bit better this time around. With camera person Rakesh, this is Divya Wadhwa for NDTV.
Well, joining us now, the spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party, Raghav Chadha. We are also joined by Dr. Vivek Nangia, Director and Head of Pulmonology at a leading hospital in Delhi, Fortis, and Hiren Jetwa, an aerosol remote sensing scientist at NASA, somebody who monitors the situation very, very closely. Let me come to Hiren first. Hiren, any new readings on the satellite data that you diligently interpret in terms of air pollution levels yesterday, Diwali night, and today? Is there any conclusion that you have arrived at?
Vishnu, I have looked at the PM 2.5 data from the US Embassy, and I put those results on the Twitter yesterday.
Yeah.
Before the Diwali fireworks started, the PM 2.5 was about 50 microgram per meter cube, and I was surprised to see that very low number, which generally we see in September. But if you ignore those few hours of a very low PM 2.5 data, then the level of concentration was about 200 microgram per meter cube, which is severe, of course. But during the fireworks hours, the PM 2.5 went from 50 units to 400, which is 8 times higher.
Right.
Within the few hours of the Diwali night. And when I checked the data today morning, again the PM 2.5 is now about 200 microgram per meter cube. So now within like 12 hours of period, the pollution level has come back to the what I call a normal means without the fireworks.
So Hiren, is this better than what we've seen in the last few years?
It's hard. I think it's still no. We see almost every year the same kind of behavior in terms of the air pollution concentration. What happened in 2016? I still remember that the Diwali happened to be on the same day when the crop fires in Punjab and Haryana picked up. So
yes,
both events came together, and that's why this whole issue of the Diwali fireworks and its impact on the air pollution came up after 2016. But this time the fires are picking up. It is higher than 2008 now, but it is still not at the peak. In the coming days, I'm expecting sometime in November 1st or 2, fires will be at their peaks for this season.
Okay, let me go across to Raghav. Raghav, I'm sure you will say that these are the best numbers in the last 4 or 5 years, but if you've got a situation where you're hitting 1600 according to the Central Pollution Control Board of PM 2.5 levels in some areas, then, you know, I mean, are we really, what are we talking about? Have we really made any progress at all?
Well, first of all, Vishnu, you're absolutely right, and I would like to make this point. There's an echo. If you could kindly get that corrected first.
Yeah, we'll get the echo corrected. Yeah, go ahead.
I would certainly like to make the point that yes, the people of Delhi do anticipate the worst levels of air pollution on the morning after Diwali, and this time was no different. When we woke up, the levels of air pollution were very poor, and in some parts of the city they were severe, and they were many a times more than the acceptable limits. But it must also be said that if you were to analyze the pollution levels of every morning after Diwali over the last 5 years, you would find that this Diwali was slightly different. This Diwali, the AQI was 281, whereas in 2016, the morning after Diwali, the AQI was 958. So therefore, there has been a huge drop, and I must congratulate the people of Delhi for that. Having said that, a lot needs to be done because the air pollution levels still are very, very toxic. Now, air pollution in Delhi, even on the day following Diwali, are largely due to a few factors, one of which is emission from firecrackers. The other happens to be the unfavorable weather conditions and stubble burning. Now, the government of Delhi has run various programs, awareness drives, including a big community Diwali celebration in Connaught Place, whereby Diwali is being celebrated using lights and lasers. And the whole thought behind that is to promote celebration of Diwali using lights and discourage people from burning crackers.
No,
despite the express instructions and directions by the Honorable Supreme Court.
Yeah. So the reason I'm interrupting you is because we've got shots of this on board or right now, and I think it's a great effort, particularly if people want it. But my question to you is this: if there were green crackers distributed, if the sound pollution was a fraction of what it is every single Diwali, and this is a fact, then why is it that the air pollution rose the way it did? Why? Because a lot of people, I mean, I tweeted this out myself last night. It's so much better than the past. It was better than the past, but then why are we still seeing these numbers?
Vishnu, the simple response is that a lot more needs to be done, and those who violated the guidelines of the Honorable Supreme Court, directions in fact of the Honorable Supreme Court of only burning green crackers, and that too in the 2-hour window that has been given by the Honorable Supreme Court, were flouted. Those directions of the Supreme Court were violated with impunity in some parts of the city, and the law enforcement agencies, unfortunately, which happens to be an agency controlled by the union government, did not implement the directions of the Supreme Court.
No, but realistically, all I'm trying to say is that Raghav, would you agree that's something that cannot be enforced? It's if people are burning firecrackers right on their roofs, on their chats,
I agree.
It's impossible. Where does the police go?
I agree.
It's one of those things which are impossible.
I do agree, and this problem, I do agree, and this problem can only be solved with greater level of public participation. We have achieved a lot of public participation, and people of Delhi must be congratulated for this, but a lot more needs to be done, and we are cognizant of this. And let me also say this, Vishnu, in the same breath, that while we are discussing the air quality levels of Delhi, the figures put out by the CPCB, which is an agency of the union government, the top 10 cities that face the worst air pollution are cities from Uttar Pradesh and Haryana. And you would be surprised to know that the number one city, the city that has the worst levels of air pollution in our country, happens to be Varanasi. Varanasi is the constituency that sends the Honorable Prime Minister to Lok Sabha. Happens to be a city in a state where all three levels of government, the municipal level, the state level and the union level, run by the Bharatiya Janata Party.
But Raghav,
so while we are of course concerned about the
argument,
respiratory health of the people of Delhi,
let's try not to make this
it's important to highlight.
No, but let's not try and make this a political
the limited point I'm making, Vishnu, is that the respiratory health of people living in Uttar Pradesh and Haryana, and particularly those living in Varanasi, is equally important, if not more, when it comes to the respiratory health of the people of Delhi.
Absolutely, and it's not just Uttar Pradesh.
The government of Delhi has taken a number of measures.
It's the smog and the smoke extends over large parts of North India. Every year we run into a problem of not getting data because machines are simply not deployed far enough. Therefore, maybe there are other parts of North India much worse than Delhi. We still don't know. But let me go across to Dr. Nangia.
Vishnu, I just would like to
mention Hiren quickly before I go across to Dr. Hiren, go ahead.
We are talking about different cities, right? We are talking about New Delhi, Varanasi, and so on. But the satellite data, if you look at the last 20 years, nearly 20 years of satellite data, the largest trend in the aerosol amount or the pollution amount that we see over northern, that's in the whole Indian subcontinent, we see the largest trend over northern India. We call Indo-Gangetic Basin. Okay, and the largest trend we have observed during the crop burning months, October and November. Now that's the leading cause. In the winter, yes, it is still increasing, but the increase is largest during the October and November. Crop burning is the largest source of pollution, and that's one source responsible for the largest trend in the whole region.
Okay. I want to go across to Dr. Nangia. Dr. Nangia, in terms of patients who came to you or came to other doctors, was it any better or any different this year compared to in the past?
So basically, I feel, with every passing year, the number of patients coming in with pollution-related disorders is only increasing. And Diwali is the time where the number actually goes up. As it is a change of season, smog expected, on top of that crop burning happening and a lot of smoke already in the atmosphere. And Diwali always worsens the situation for us. So even last night, I think we've had about 3 or 4 emergencies in the hospital to be managed. And in the OPD today as well, it was quite busy for us, despite being a holiday, which we thought might just be light for us. But it actually turned out to be a busy OPD even today.
So, you are, of course, just in one hospital. But what you're telling me is that by and large, the number of cases at your hospital, emergency cases or even cases where people came and said they need attention is more or less the same as it's been in the past.
No, the number is only increasing, I said. Vishnu.
It's increasing.
Every year.
It's going up.
Yeah, the number is definitely increasing. People coming in.
Is that because of more awareness or is it because people are more distressed medically?
So I think it's a combination of both. As far as awareness is concerned, patients now when they come to us, they come in earlier. It would happen is that like 3 or 4 years back, they would actually ask us that why is this happening, doc? Why are we not settling? Now when they come to us, they themselves tell us that, doc, ever since this pollution levels have increased, we've started having this cough going into the lungs, causing wheezing in the chest. So patients' awareness, as far as awareness is concerned, they are aware that this kind of a problem can happen and is happening. But of course, the medical needs is what brings them to us.
All right. And, since we do have you over here, doctor, and what is your message to the elderly? What is your message to parents with children looking at the days and weeks ahead? Because chances are, and as we know this now, it's only going to get worse, particularly if there isn't wind or anything of the sort. The climate doesn't favor us this time of the year. What is your message to those who are most vulnerable?
See, basically, we have to identify the most vulnerable group, and they include the elderlies, the children, the people who are suffering with any kind of a cardiac disease, lung disease, liver disease, kidney disease. In fact, even those who are suffering from cancers are on immunosuppressants, pregnant ladies. So this is the most vulnerable group. So in this kind of a situation, when the air pollution is only going to worsen with time, the message that I would want to give them is, one, they should refrain themselves from going out in the early morning hours for the morning walks. We have to go away from the concept of morning walks because that is the time when the smog levels are the highest. Second, we should refrain from very strenuous physical activity outside. When an AQO level is more than 400, it's almost like a national emergency. And in fact, nobody should be moving out in this kind of polluted air.
Yeah.
While the vulnerable group, when it is more than 200, they should restrict their activities outside.
Yeah.
And more than 300, they should not be moving out at all.
Yeah.
So it's high time that we all started gauging our physical activity outside, or even walks, or even work to the AQI levels.
All right. Well, fairly horrific indicators once again this year. It's sad, isn't it, to hear a leading doctor actually tell people don't go out and exercise this time of the year if the air pollution is bad, because you might actually be protecting yourself rather than the other way around. It's a sad reality we all live in.
And unfortunately what happens is this is the time when most of the outdoor activities happen, because this is the winter time. People find it more comfortable to be outside. So if you see, most of the schools hold their sports day during this period. Most of these marathons happen around this period, the early morning marathons. And all of them are actually dangerous to our health. Why I say that is because in the normal routine, we are breathing about 16 times in a minute. And with each breath, we are taking in 500 ml of air. But when we are exercising, say jogging, running, then our respiratory rate goes up to metabolism. As a result, we are breathing in much more volumes of air. The quantum of polluted air going inside is much higher.
Right.
So the chances of damaging our cells is significantly higher, exponentially higher, in fact.
Yeah.
So all these activities should be completely banned outdoors during this time of the year.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank all of you very much for joining us. Raghav, it's great that the government is trying to encourage people to go out and see these laser shows, and it's been welcomed. That's a great move. But it's so sad that we continue to have discussions like this, and I suspect we'll keep on doing this. But small steps have been made. Green crackers have been introduced. Greater awareness is so important. I need to wrap this up at this stage. I'm sure we'll follow up more on the air pollution situation, odd even, which is coming up in Delhi. The graded action plan is to deal with air pollution. And Hiren, always a pleasure to speak to you.